Well, great. Good morning, everybody. This is Willie speaking.
And Tanya.
Hope everyone's week is going well enough. So this webinar today is all about the monthly reports that you all will be submitting throughout your year of service, and we just want to go over it so that you're familiar with it, and so we can answer any questions, and then we can even get specifics for what we're looking for. We don't expect any of you all to submit the most perfect monthly reports every single time, or even on the first few times. It takes a little while to get used to and to know what we're asking for. So we figure that it's important to try to explain it to you all.
Mm-hmm.
So the monthly, what you can see on my screen is a sample monthly report. This one says December, and so for every month you'll change that, but that's a pretty simple one. There's some instructions on the top, but what we're going to do is just scroll through it, kind of explain each part, and then at the end, if you all have any questions, we will field those and take them one by one. So Tanya, do you want to start off on the overview?
Sure. So if you guys look at the very top, you'll see something that says last name, easy box, and then you're going to have an overview of work. What it basically says is that you're going to describe specific tasks and your project that you're working on that you've done for that month. This can be continuing a project you've done last month and you're just kind of giving us an update, but you'll still put it in this little box. You'll also kind of list exactly what you've done for the month, including the projects, if you've worked with any organizations, and what you did with those organizations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're looking for all the activities that you have been doing over this month, and we've gone over this, we go over this in the orientation webinar, but it's critical to be honest about all of the activities you're doing so that we can get a sense of how much administrative work that you're doing, how related are your monthly activities to your VAD, and so that we can accurately track how your progress is going, so that we can, when we conduct our monthly check-ins, we can have a bit more of a specific conversation with you all about how you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, in case you guys aren't aware, we're going to use the information in your monthly reports when we talk to you guys in your normal check-ins. Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind as you're filling them out.
Mm-hmm. So moving on, the next section is all about the volunteers. Now, some of you all, one thing that we should say before we jump into the rest of it is the monthly report asks questions that any Vista project could be working on, not that we expect every Vista project to have an answer for every single one of these sections, and even at that, every single one of these sections every month. Especially now that you all are just starting off, a lot of your work is research, getting oriented. That's just an important clarification to make. So, moving on, there are a few different ways that we track how our Vistas work with volunteers. As you can see, this first question is how many volunteers are serving your organization. And you can either do this by highlighting monthly or annually. Monthly works a little bit easier because we can get a little bit more specific with that, but if some organizations don't track that, so they only do annual reports on their volunteers, that's just fine. The next question is, out of all those volunteers that are serving your organization, how many are baby boomers? And then even how many are veteran or military family? If your organization is tracking that, this is great. If they're not, it's not the end of the world. but it's just one of the ways that we track our volunteers. Oh, wait. So as you can see, the difference between the question I've highlighted here and the question I now have highlighted is that we're asking how many, the second one is asking how many hours did those volunteers work, did the veterans or military family members work. And that's an important question for us to know both how many there are and then how many hours they're working. Moving on, this is the section where it's about you all. What have you all been doing? So how many volunteers are you managing? And we do prefer that you use monthly, but if you have to resort to using annually, that's fine. An important point about this specific question, the how many volunteers are you managing? As you progress month by month, you may be managing the same volunteers or you may be managing different volunteers. So we ask that you, in this box here, say whether these are new volunteers that you're managing or whether these are the same volunteers that you managed in previous months. Moving along, right, like the same way as it was earlier, the difference in this next question is how many hours did the volunteers you manage serve? Yeah, Tanya, do you want to take this new volunteers section?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So for the new volunteers, very much like the previous section, you're going to fill this out preferably in its entirety. Willie was just saying how you may not have some numbers for these, and that's completely fine. You can put in NA or 0. Mm-hmm. So for the first section here, it's how many new volunteers have you recruited. And that's just basically any type of recruitment, and including if you're just involved in it. So let's say your organization goes out and they do a recruiting thing and you made flyers for it and you help them with the sign-in list. Whatever number they come back with, you can put that number in this box. Mm-hmm. Next one is how many hours did the new volunteers you've recruited serve this month. Now, this may not be anything, especially if that's the recruiting month and they actually haven't come in, but then next month you can put them on. So it's fine if that's 0 or NA at the time. Mm-hmm. And then how many did of these recruits were, how did you recruit these volunteers? I can't read for that 5 seconds. And then this is how did you recruit these volunteers? I just gave you guys some examples of making up flyers, helping with sign-in sheets, getting donor information or volunteer information when they call in. All of those are good examples.
Yeah, creating the Vista or the volunteer description.
Yeah.
And posting it online. Yeah. Yeah,
posting things online, all of that. So that is the new volunteer section.
Great. So the next section is materials created. Have you created any manuals, webinars, training, or other training tools for staff or volunteers in your organization? Right? Pretty straightforward question. Of an important aspect to this section is the how many have used it. That's a critical aspect to our reporting to CNCS. Moving along.
So cash resources, what kind of fundraising you're doing, who you're fundraising with, or who your organization has been fundraising with, that organization's name. Something like this, like, I did a fundraiser, a 5K fundraiser with so-and-so. This should also be in your overview as just like a simple sentence. And then here in cash resources, you're going to go more in depth. So as you can see, the first one is just asking what exactly it was. And then the second question is how much money have you raised this month? So you can get that information from your organization. If you don't remember like exactly how much came in, just ask whoever is in your accounting or fundraising department to see if it was like a grant, how much they actually were awarded, and you want to put that down, and then the type of grant it was. The fundraiser, what the final amount was, including like any donation items that they put value to. They'll have the answers to all that. You can just ask them how much they brought in for that fundraiser or that grant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, an important thing to make sure we explain to y'all is we're looking for how much, like the metric that we're trying to find is how much, in this one, cash resources was leveraged with having an AmeriCorps member in working the process. So it's not that you have to be the one who wrote the grant and did all of the work or made all the, reached out to all the partners and planned the whole fundraising event. If you did the research for the grant, if you were a part of the grant writing team, if you were part of the event management team, or just the partnership building for the event, put the final amount in, and we know that it's not that you did 100% of the work to secure that, but you played a role in securing that.
Right.
Right. That next section is it a new source of funding, money, or is it a renewal? The next section is in-kind donations, and we were Tanya was just referencing them. I'm pretty sure you all go over what in-kind resources are at PSO, but as you can see, we asked for the cash value, and then what were the resources and what were they for. In-kind donations are when you get a certain item or pro bono work from a professional. It can be a lot of different things. And organizations quantify them in different ways, and so it's just a matter of, like Tanya said, checking in with your accounting department and making sure, and they'll be able to let you know what to write down for that. Did I miss anything for that?
I didn't think so. So next section, professional development trainings. You guys all know that throughout your year, you guys will be doing different trainings. These professional development trainings can be anything from a webinar to going into a meeting somewhere, to going to a conference, to simply talking to someone and going to a workshop. So again, these are also considered activities, so we want a general description of what you've done for the month in your overview. But here it kind of lists a whole bunch of information here. It could be community outreach, volunteer generation, recruitment, management, resources, grant writing. And so you just want to either highlight it or circle it. I don't think you can do that. So let's highlight it. And then who provided the trainings to you. So if your host site provided the trainings, you can just put that they provided the training, maybe even who and when that was. But if it was a sponsored or paid training, you also want to put that information very much like in the description here for the example we have. This is showing that it was a free training at the Community Alliance, and then what it was. It was a monthly meeting for nonprofits. So that's kind of the detail that we would want for that section. Next questions were. Were you getting into the next questions for it? Sorry. Yes. Have something to add? Okay. Next questions on that were what you did at the trainings, and then what effect did it have on you or your organization. And that's pretty self-explanatory. And then the next one is describe the training if no category specifically applies. Yeah, so I'm going to scroll back up. When there's the other gray area, this highlighted section, that's when we want you all to describe it here. And then last one is what trainings and technical assistance do you feel you need to be more effective at your job? This is a really great one for us and for you guys, just to kind of see, especially if you get interested in something in that month. This is always supposed to be continuing your professional development. Kind of think on that question as you answer it, sort of what your job needs, what you would like to learn, things like that.
So in the next section, partnerships and relationships. There's a bit of a description there. Yeah, we're looking for if you've created, strengthened, or changed a relationship or partnership that your organization has with another group or organization. That can even mean staff, internal staff at your host site. The questions are all up here. So it's, how did you go about this? What will result of this partnership? And then you scroll down and here, and then you just have one box. So as you can see, there's this example. The person created a new relationship with, and then they go into each specific person and what the person does, what the partnership may look like. And then there's another section for strengthened. Yeah, we can look at this first example, the housing action by picking up all their donated Christmas presents and hand-delivered a thank you note to the project coordinator. So if we look back up at the description, we're saying describe if you strengthened, and then how did you go about doing this? What will result of this partnership? As you can see, this person actually, we could use a little bit more. We could use a what will result of this partnership. Or yes, that is kind of described, but that would be something that we would want to follow up with and ask about during the check-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A good response to that would just be, securing it for the next year so that you can continue to do it.
Yeah, so then there is this follow-up question for the partnerships, how many new community members have you interacted with? And then even how many may have actively engaged in your project this month. Again, pretty self-explanatory.
Good stuff.
Moving on.
So sustainability, that is very important to our lovely Vistas. As you can see, it says answer required from all Vistas. That's because every month you should be doing something to encourage the sustainability of whatever project that you're working on. So first question is describing any projects you've done and have developed this month that will carry on and exist after your service year is over. Again, this would be whatever project that you're already working on. So the general description should be an overview, and then you will go into this and go into more detail. So you can kind of see that this person put 21 new organizations that they helped recruit, and then they go on to talk about like how they had their relationships with that person and how they've been planning meetings and et cetera, et cetera. So a good little paragraph kind of talking about what they did and what they are actively doing to keep that going after they are done their year. Next question, how will these projects leave a lasting impact on the effectiveness of your site organization? Yeah, that's, again, pretty self-explanatory, but it's basically asking what you're doing to ensure that it can actually work with your coworkers and the things that you do. That's it for that section.
Yeah, so this next section we have is new systems and or practices. I know systems can be a bit of a vague term, but we do have some descriptions in the, or examples in the description, right? So we're looking for in this first section, so you can't say yes or no, and then if you do say yes, we would prefer if you use the number to add on to it. In this case, the person only created one, so it's pretty self-explanatory, but if you create a whole bunch of systems or practices, it's helpful for us to just have a number in this first question. And then the follow-up question, what is the practice? What is the new system? And why or how did you go, why and how did you go about it? Again, this is even kind of related to that sustainability. Why is it going to be helpful to your organization? Why was it necessary? That kind of stuff.
So in research and resource development, we kind of talked about this when we were going over donations and the cash resources, but this can include things up there like grant writing and fundraising, along with any research you've done, as well as like anything you've had to do for reports. A very good example is an annual report, or you know, I don't know, is it a newsletter? Talking about, yeah,
totally.
a newsletter. Okay. So I'm guessing any document that reviews your company's information that they've done for the month, basically.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of Vistas will do a community assessment. This is exactly where that should go.
And then the second question just asks, again, more details. We kind of want to know exactly what you did and maybe what it was called and what it was used for. And then any resources that you've created through the research for that month. So you can kind of see that this person created an infographic talking about the statistics of the report. The infographic and even the report, when you send these monthly reports to us, you want to actually put them as an attachment, because we love to show you guys off and show the great things that you're doing in your organization.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So moving on, collaboration with other Vistas and host sites. As you all will kind of understand, there are some kind of archetypes for Illinois Affordable Housing Support Project Vista positions. Like, for instance, we have a few Vista projects that are communications and resource development. We have a lot of program analysis and enhancement positions this year. So as the year goes on, when we do our September 11th Service Day, when we have our fall retreat, you all will get to know each other's projects and get to know each other a little bit more. And so if you end up collaborating with each other, we want to hear about it. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be both of your organizations did a huge project together and it has it's going to have a lasting impact. It can be as little as you two Vistas having a conversation about best practices for their achieving their VAD goals. That is something we definitely want to hear about. Yep. Right, and the question, just describe what happened and why you did it.
So, going on to impact, that kind of rolls into working with other people, other Vistas, as well as other people in your organization and then your community organizations. It's trying to make your organization more effective. So the first question is basically how you did so. Again, this may not be filled out, but if you do, we want it to be kind of as detailed as possible. So if you read what this person wrote, they're just talking about how the staffing changes and absence of a program manager, they've kind of helped with the fundraising. That's kind of also going back to if you find you have idle hands, ask around, get more involved in your organization. Effectiveness comes from you wanting to better yourself and, the things around you. So that will really help. Next question is, how have you made them more effective and how so?
Oh, you were saying effective during the last one. It was efficient, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys know what I meant, right? That's basically the same question, only it means effective. And I'm assuming everyone knows the difference between efficient and effective, except me, obviously.
Right. And if you have any questions about it, there is a description underneath each one. And then again, if you have further questions about it, feel free to ask us at the end or during our monthly check-ins.
Yeah. Next question is, has your organization received an increase in the request of services as a result of your work? Basically, if you do a great job and you really enjoy what you do, it's basically asking if they ask you if you want to do it again next time when that comes around. We would love to hear more about that.
Or even if there's more clients that are interested.
Yeah. And then how many new activities have you created for clients or staff? And you can kind of see it has an example here where capacity building activities and outputs that's been completed or produced by you. That can be like coordinating meetings, using communication tools or developing them, writing manuals, very much like absolutely everything else you've written that will be also in the overview. You want to kind of, again, use this section to go more in depth on each activity you've done for the month. And then how many services you've developed for clients. Basically same question, except for instead of the organization, they're just asking what you've done for clients of the organization or community members.
Great.
Oh, all the way at the bottom. And then all the way at the bottom, there's an area where it says, what area did the services you created focus in? And then we have some options. And yeah, I guess if it's not any of those, you would just put non-applicable.
And then during the monthly check-in, we would ask what we think it would be applicable to you. So moving on, we're going to talk about beneficiaries. So these are the people that are benefiting from your organization and the work that you've been doing. It can be hard to track to do it monthly. A lot of people will do annually. Either way is fine with us. It's just important that you fill it out. So these questions start off kind of broad, of how many people receive services from your organization overall. And then we get a little bit more specific, how many of these beneficiaries are disadvantaged youth, how many are veterans, how many veterans' families received services, and just like the volunteer section that we talked about at the very beginning, some organizations do track this, some organizations do not. It's not the end of the world if your organization doesn't do it, but it is just one way that CNCS does track AmeriCorps Vista's impact at their organizations. So yeah, it just keeps going. How many military service members, how many family members of military service members, and then this last question here, out of all the populations that we just discussed in those questions that you see as I scroll up, scrolling back down now, how many of those individuals did you work with or interact with? And we do prefer if that's on a monthly basis. It's kind of hard to track that annually, especially when you're doing it month by month.
So, ideas. This is giving us specific details on any idea you may have had to work with something that your organization either already has in place to kind of either better the way that works or how that gets out to the community. It can be absolutely anything. You can see here that they have a example of someone implementing a relationship. Nice. That's cool. So it would be that detail as well as anything from, I don't know, just kind of helping to recreate a database or working a new email system, things like that. So we just want to know what your idea was, and then how you would kind of put it into place, and then how that was received if you were able to talk with whoever either runs the program or your supervisor, and then how that feedback was for you.
And even, at this point, if you haven't presented the idea to your organization, just explain how you think you're going to go about doing so, or even if you want advice from us about how to go about doing so, monthly check-in is a great opportunity for that. Moving on, we're going to go to challenges. So we want to, as we've brought up before, every Vista service year does have their ups and downs. You will come up to challenges during your year of service. And we want to know what's going on. We in this section are asking you, what are the challenges that you're faced this month? And not just a one-word description. We want to know a bit of the context of it. And we also want to know whether or not it's been resolved or if you're going about resolving it. And then you can see in the second question, is there any way that the Vista leaders can be of assistance? If you're having a challenge and you don't know how to address it, give us a call. We can talk it out, and it's important that you explain it in the monthly report. And this kind of goes back to the whole, it's critical to be honest in your monthly report. We have had circumstances in the past where Vista members don't tell us about challenges they have, and they have a challenge for a few months, and then the challenge becomes a major conflict, and the supervisor and the Vista are, at each other's throats, and this is the first time that we're hearing about it over here at Housing Action, and that just makes our lives more difficult and resolving the conflict more difficult if we have no understanding of what the situation is.
Yeah, definitely. And then even in that section, you want to make sure to put, even if you don't need any assistance from us, how you are resolving it. Just make sure that if you're putting a challenge up there, you're not just like, well, that'll be that. We would like you guys to be comfortable with speaking with your supervisors, but you can always put down there, I'm not ready to speak with my supervisor yet, but, just keep us in the loop, and we'll help you guys every step.
Yep. Right.
So accomplishments. How do you feel about your Vista achievements this month? Through everything you guys have done, you can also kind of put how your work is, fulfilling you, basically. Specifically for this first month, though, we understand that you guys are probably just still settling in. So just mark, as honestly as possible, and then all the questions underneath. Have you made any connections with your community personally? How have you planned and participated in any volunteer projects? Those kind of questions are just basically expanding on exactly what you've done for that month to kind of whatever. It's basically asking what achievements you actually did. So,
and we're asking in that section, what are you doing outside of the office? How are you making sure that you're not only going 9 to 5 at your office and then going straight home, and then we want to hear what you're doing to make sure that you're having fun outside the office. Because burnout is real, and we want to make sure that our Vistas aren't getting burnt out. Oh, and then one other thing, for the accomplishments, that 1 through 10, 10 is the best and 1 is the worst, just to clarify. Because we don't explain that in the monthly report description.
Speaking of being out of the office, we want to know how many personal sick days you're taking, and how many you've taken total, which you guys should be keeping track of, I believe. Oh, and then at the very, very bottom, it just says a little thing, has this report been reviewed by your supervisor?
Yeah, the supervisors are supposed to review your monthly reports. That way we can make sure that everyone's on the same page and that all the numbers are correct to both people's understandings. And we have had situations where, right, we're talking about the challenges section, in reference to the challenges section, you are having a challenge with the supervisor, but you haven't brought it up to your supervisor yet, and the supervisor needs to review your monthly report. It's okay to not write it down there and then talk to us about it during our monthly check-in.
Right.
That's an important note to hit.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was all of the notes, except for right now we're in the process of revising the monthly report. I think Willie is going to send out templates for all of you guys after this webinar, and that'll be just whatever we have right now, but it will be updated. And when it is updated, we will send out new reports and explaining the email, probably explaining all the changes we did.
Yeah, and it's not like we're drastically restructuring this and that this last half an hour of your time has been useless and you'll have to do this again in 2 months or whatever. We're just making some slight adjustments to the descriptions, adding and dropping a few questions because CNCS has changed the metrics that they're wanting us to follow a bit. So we just have to adjust our monthly report for that because, and I believe we've stated this in the orientation webinar, but there are a few reasons why these monthly reports are so important. More so for you all, it's a chance to kind of take a breath, reflect on your progress and your accomplishments and challenges that you've made so far in the past month. Because it really is, as you'll surely start to see, that these months can really start to fly by. And it can be hard to look back at an entire month and say, and it's easy to just keep working and not be tracking these accomplishments, but it's a chance for you to reflect, kind of take in what you've been able to do, and then strategize for what you're going to be able to do next month. On our end, we have to compile and report to the AmeriCorps State Office twice a year, and a lot of the report is compiling quantitative and qualitative data from these monthly reports.
Just really quickly, all the way at the top, there's a big old bold statement that says, read this before starting report. Make sure to read that before starting the report.
So, and then it does say this form is due by the last day of each month at 11:59. That policy has changed. It's a softer deadline. We do ask that you get it completed during the first week of the month because we also use information in these monthly reports to create the monthly newsletter. And so the later it comes in, the later the monthly newsletter gets out. And then even we do highlight accomplishments of our Vistas. And so if you're too late, you might get missed. A major accomplishment might get missed because we already have been sent out the newsletter. So at this point, I think we can open up for questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, and then there's one more thing I should say before we jump into all the questions. For all of you AmeriCorps member Vistas that have started on August 15th, or even August 22nd for that matter, your report, you do not have to submit an August report for these last 2 weeks. You will just keep everything in mind from the last 2 weeks when you submit your September report. Lily Bollington asked, this is a lot of information at one time. Is this webinar being recorded for our later use? And the answer is yes. this webinar is being recorded, and we will send it to you all later this afternoon. Good question, Lily. Tiara asked, is the report due before the end of the month or on a specific date each month? Yeah, like I said, it's the first week of the month that the report will be due.
Oh, that's cool. So Abigail was just noting that she does a daily reflection that keeps her on track with everything she did. And that would be a really great thing for, that's a really good idea for you guys if you'd like to kind of keep all your stuff on one so you don't, at the end of the month, try and remember back to what you did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, when I was doing my Vista term, I basically took their monthly report that they had us complete and did it at the end of each month, or at the end of each week, so that when I had to do my monthly report, it wasn't sitting there for 3 hours trying to remember every single thing I did over the last month. It was just compiling all the data from those 4 weeks of reports I did.
That's a great idea, too.
But daily works, too. So Ashleen has a question. I work for a local branch of a national nonprofit, and I'm not sure how to track what numbers to put in for the number of clients served. My organization does consulting, lending, training, etc., so we don't directly serve clients, except for the program I am helping to run. Should I just use that number? Yes, you should just use that. You should use your department's number, or even you can use your branch's number for overall clients too. Does that answer your question, Ashleen? Great. Awesome. So there's no more questions in the chat box, but we do want to leave some time for people that may be writing up a question.
You guys can also ask just general questions that you've been wanting to get to us, and now that you've got us in one spot, you're welcome to ask those as well.
Oh, Ashleen asked, when is the fall retreat? And the fall retreat, we have 2 dates in mind. It's either going to be in the middle of November, or it will be at the beginning of December. The timing depends on our November start dates. And so far, we've recruited 3/4 of the November start dates, and we just need to recruit 1 more. And if we're able to recruit that person and have them start at the beginning of November, then the fall retreat will be in the middle of November. And if this person has to start in the middle of November, then the fall retreat will be in the beginning of December. Anybody else have any questions? Give you a minute or two to type. Yeah, well, we don't see any more questions in the chat box, but that doesn't mean you can't ask us any questions via email or phone call. Thanks for taking the time. Oh!
One more thing, just as I remembered. So I think originally we were having you guys send us your monthly reports to just our individual email, whoever is your leader. Now we would like you guys to send it to vistas@housingactionil.org. That's just so that, because both of us will get it, and that way we won't misplaced any of the ones that get like shuffled in our email. And when Willie sends out the email with the webinar after this, as well as probably some other information with the monthly report, we'll also put the email to that for you guys in there.
Thank you for remembering. But with that, okay, we're actually done.
Yeah.
Those are all our notes. We really appreciate you all taking your time on your busy schedules. Enjoy your 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll see you all on September 11th. If you haven't signed up for a morning or an afternoon shift, please send Tanya or I an email saying which shift you want to take. But until then, enjoy yourselves.
Enjoy the weekend and check out our Facebook page. Put stuff on there about things you guys can do that's fun in Chicago on the weekend, including this weekend.
Well, alrighty, everybody. Thanks again, and we'll be sending a follow-up email later this afternoon.